Before we go into worship, I just want to share with you guys my encounter with God's love that I had. Some of you might have heard bits and pieces of it before. But I really believe that as I'm sharing this, that God's just going to release a grace in this room for you to have your own encounter with God's love. Whatever it looks like, however He wants to do it. I had a pretty rough weekend, and I was driving from out of town back into Redding, and it was a Sunday night, and we had a guest worship leader that night. His name's Anthony Skinner. Anyone know that name? Yes? And I got in, and I was walking up towards the front, and I saw Chris Valentin, and I kind of was falling apart. I just needed a dad. And he looks at me, and he knew it, he saw it, and he just went. And I ran over there, and I hugged him, and I just was crying. Worship started, and all of a sudden, and let me just remind you again, okay? This is not a normal thing for me to just have these encounters. But I have one, and I just live off of that until the next one. So I had this encounter. All of a sudden, I see Jesus standing in front of me, and He's reaching for me like this, like He wants me to come to Him. And I was terrified. I felt like I couldn't go to where He was. I felt ashamed. I felt scared. I felt like I didn't deserve to be close to Him. I couldn't even look Him in the face. And Jesus is completely irresistible. I always say that there are 3 things in my life that are completely irresistible to me. One is, of course, Jesus. Number 2 is my husband. And number 3 is chocolate. Completely irresistible. But anyways, so, irresistible. I go to Jesus, I fall in His arms, and as I'm laying in His arms, I'm still feeling kind of afraid to really even look at Him. All of a sudden, this thought comes into my mind, and I know this is not my thought. I would never, ever, ever in a million trillion years think this. And I think I need to ask Him 2 questions. I need to ask Him, how much do you love me? And what were you thinking when you created me? And as this thought comes into my mind, I'm thinking, no way! I am not asking those questions. Now here's what you need to know about me and why I was so afraid to ask those questions. One is, when I was a little girl, I had heard someone say something, and long story short, I got it in my head somehow that I was a mistake. I thought that I was supposed to be born a boy, but I was born a girl, and God made a really big mistake, and now here I am, just this big mistake, and I literally believed that my entire life. And to ask God, what were you thinking when you created me? I really believed that He would say to me, well, I made a mistake, and I was trying to make a boy and came out a girl, and now I'm just trying to make the best of a bad situation. I know, it sounds ridiculous, huh? That's really what I believed. It's crazy. And then to ask Him, how much do you love me? I felt like He'd say, well, you're a mistake, so how much could I love you? I mean, I think you're okay. I mean, this is what's going through my head. I know this sounds crazy, but these are the kind of lies that I was believing. And all of a sudden, out loud, in the natural, outside of my vision, okay, over the microphone, Anthony Skinner says, you need to ask God 2 questions. And my heart starts pounding. What? You need to ask God, how much do you love me? And what were you thinking when you created me? What? So now I feel like the little kid that just got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. That's how I feel. I feel completely exposed. I felt so angry. Like, Anthony, you just said it out loud in front of everybody. Now everybody knows, and he probably heard you. Now I have to ask. I was so upset. And finally, I'm trembling, and I can see myself in Jesus' arms, just trembling and shaking. I can't even look at him. And finally, I get the courage, and let me tell you, my courage was about this big, but thank the Lord, that is all you need. You just need that much courage, okay? I finally say, how much do you love me? I'm kind of scared. And all of a sudden, Jesus puts me down, and he starts stretching out his arms, okay? They're each going out each way. And it looked like Stretch Armstrong. And a lot of times I say Stretch Armstrong, and some of the younger people don't know who I'm talking about, okay? He was a superhero. And by the way, that makes me feel old, and I am not old, okay? So if you don't know who Stretch Armstrong is, you need to Google him. But he was like a superhero, and his arms and legs and stuff could like stretch out like spaghetti noodles, like forever. And you're like falling off a cliff, and he'd be like, whoa, whoa, like save you, okay? So Jesus, okay, his arms are like stretching out forever and ever. And I'm looking, and I can't see the ends. I can't see where it's ending. And he starts laughing, and he goes, I love you this much, ha 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 ha. And he's laughing hysterically. And then I start laughing. I'm cracking up. I'm suddenly like, I'm becoming like so full of joy. And I'm just like, what? You love me that much? I can't even see the ends. It's going on forever and ever and ever. Oh my goodness, you love me that much. This crazy happiness is like welling up inside of me, and I'm laughing with him. And in the end of it, I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to ask that other question. Nah, hey, I'm good. Hey, we made some great progress today. This has been wonderful. We should do this again sometime. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Like, this is how I am, okay? And a few months later, I'm at the prayer house, and it's like really early in the morning. I liked to go there when the sun was coming up, and I'd just sit and pray and watch the sun come up, which, by the way, that is a miracle in itself, because I am not a morning person. There's like this period of time in my life where, I don't know, it's just the Lord. But anyway, so I'm there, and nothing is going on, out of the ordinary. I'm just sitting and reading the Bible, and I have my back to the door. And all of a sudden, I feel the presence of the Lord literally walk into the room. And I suddenly felt this, almost like the fear of the Lord, this trembling inside of me. And I can feel him walking towards me, close to me. And I suddenly had this revelation. He has come for that question. And I am freaking out, and there is nowhere to go. There is only one door, and it is on the other side of him. And I am stuck. And I feel him just come right up to me. His presence is so strong. I can't even turn. I'm just sitting there like this, and just my heart is pounding, and I feel him saying, Kim, please ask me that question. And I'm like, oh, hello, Jesus. Good morning. I'm great. I don't need to ask that question. I'm doing so good. Have you seen how good I'm doing lately? The nervous laugh. And Jesus is like, please ask me that question. I'm good. I'm good. Jesus, hey, you know what? It's all right. It's all right. It's all cool. We're cool, Jesus. And I feel him again, please ask me that question. And again, he is completely irresistible. And I fall on the floor, I start sobbing like I do in his presence. And I finally say to him, Jesus, what were you thinking when you created me? And suddenly, I'm standing with Jesus, and just in front of me is God the Father, and he's got a table in front of him. And he reaches into his heart, and he rips this chunk off of his heart, and he throws it on the table, and it's suddenly like clay or Play-Doh. And he starts molding it and shaping it, and I'm like, Jesus, what is he doing? What's he making? What is he making? And all of a sudden I see he makes me. I'm there on the table. And he reaches over and he grabs this box and brings it over, and he sets me inside the box. And you know those little jewelry boxes that little girls have, where you open it up and it plays music and the little ballerina like twirls? Hello? Do you know what I'm talking about? No? Do they not make those anymore? My goodness. I'm not old, okay? And it was a box like that. And he shuts the box and he gets in front of it and he's like really excited. He kind of looks around and he opens the box real fast like that. And when he does, inside, I start twirling and dancing and singing to him and worshiping him. And he goes, woo! Woo! He like runs around. He runs around, he comes back and he closes the box and he's like, and he throws it open again. He's like, woo! And he starts running around in circles again. He comes back over and he closes it again. And this is going on and on and on and on. And it's so crazy. He gets so excited every single time. It reminded me of those little kids with the Jack in the Box, and they're like shocked every single time it pops up as if they don't know it's gonna do that, right? It was like that. It's like he was so surprised and so happy every single time. And I'm standing with Jesus watching this going, what is happening? What is this? Why is he so happy? And all of a sudden he reaches in the box and he picks me up and he puts me in the palm of his hand. And I go from being there watching with Jesus to being in the palm of the Father's hand. And he's bringing me close to him like this. And I'm watching like, what's happening? What's going on? I'm getting like closer and closer. And all of a sudden I see his heart. And I see this outline in his heart. It was that spot where he'd ripped that chunk off of his heart. And as I'm getting closer and closer, all of a sudden he just slides me right into that spot. And I fit like a perfect puzzle piece. It was like a perfect fit. And as I'm sitting there in his heart, he just says to me, Kim, this is what I was thinking when I created you. I created you from this place right here. I knew exactly what I was doing. You are not a mistake. You are made perfectly how I imagined and designed. I made you simply because you make me happy. You bring me joy. And guess what? I think you're funny. You make me laugh. This is what he's telling me. And he says, this is the place where I created you from, and this is the place where I have brought you back, and this is the place where you stay. Right here, in my heart, in my presence. And all of the lies just dissipated like that. They melted away. All the lies were just completely gone. And in one moment, my entire life changed. I could never be the same after that.